Welcome to Season 5 of the Manufacturers Network. Real talk with the people building what's next in manufacturing. And now your host, Lisa Ryan.
Hey, it's Lisa Ryan. Welcome to the Manufacturers Network podcast. Excited to introduce our guest today, Rick Elmore. Rick is the founder and CEO of Simply Noted, a 100% bootstrapped, handwritten mail automation company powered by patented robotics and software. A former NFL athlete turned 9-patent tech founder, Rick scaled the business to $10 million plus in revenue by combining manufacturing, automation, and disciplined sales systems. So, Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here, Lisa.
So share with us a little bit about your background that I didn't cover in the intro and what led you to really doing what you do for Simply Noted.
Sure. I would say I have a very unconventional path that led me to this tech engineering automation business. I was never in tech. I was never in automation. I was never in engineering. I actually grew up playing sports. I was a football player for a very long time. I went to the University of Arizona on a football scholarship, had a lot of success there, then was drafted into the NFL. I played 3 years in the NFL. And the NFL stands for not for long for a reason. Most players go in and they have a couple years, but there's always younger, cheaper, healthier talent trying to get in the door. At about 25 years old, I had I would say like an identity crisis. I was a football player athlete. I was Rick the athlete for about 15, 20 years of my life. And now all of a sudden, I didn't know what I was going to do. So then I did what a lot of guys did at that time. I just took everything I knew, all the transferable skills, the hard work, the teamwork, the perseverance, the grit, the competitiveness, and then just applied it to corporate sales. And I had a lot of success there as well. First year as an associate sales rep, but then went into carrying a full line bag for the next 4 years where I was either a top 1% or top 5 sales rep. But really saw where my career was going. I saw a lot of my managers were like never home. They hung out at bars. They were divorced, never saw their kids, never saw their families. And I was like, that's not the life I want. And they really tried to like keep you in a box. If you asked a lot of questions, you wanted to understand like deeper parts of the business, or that's not your area, don't worry about it. And I always had an interest in business. Around 2017, I went back and did my MBA. And I was terrified to go back to school because I always struggled in school. I wanted to play sports and be outside. And just being told to study and remember something for a test, this never sat well with me. I was just like, I'm interested in sports and like biomechanics and working out and exercising and being outside. That's what I'm really interested in. But then when I went back and did my MBA, I had a real like fondness and curiosity for business. So going back and doing my MBA was actually really exciting. I fell in love with learning. And a year into my marketing program, or a year into my MBA, I was in a marketing class and I had a marketing professor talking about all the success rates in marketing. And everything was super nominal. So 8%, 6%, 4%, 12%. And then he ends this 3-hour long lecture with probably like one of those things I'll always remember for the rest of my life. He says, hey guys, you know what works better now, if not better than ever, is a good old fashioned handwritten note. They get open 99% of the time. People appreciate it. It's rare and the mailboxes are empty. And the sales and marketing mind I had, I was like, man, like that's obvious, but there's no easy way to do it. It took me weeks just to send a print holiday card to my clients. We take a print card, put it in an envelope, and like handwrite the address. And like it was painful. Long story short, and I can go really like into the weeds of this, but I got to actually draw a pen plotter from China, put it together. I'm sure people listening to this knows like what plotters are. They're just like 3-axis like systems that move left and right, forward and backwards and up and down. It held a pen. And then I used some like plug-in software to send like font writings to the plotter to write out letters. But I sent out 500 letters to targeted prospects in my sales industry. They're like dentists. And the response rate was amazing. These doctors were calling me back and they're like, hey, Rick, thanks for the letter. That's cool. No one sends this kind of stuff. Book a meeting and let's talk about it. I had a $50,000 quota. I sold $300,000, around $300,000 in 6 weeks. And that was when the entrepreneurial seizure like happened. I was like, oh my God, it works. This is something that provides value. People are going to need this. And then fast forward 8 years, 8.5 years since then, From what I believe, because this is such a niche space, we're the largest provider of automated handwritten notes in the United States. We have 9 patents. I never thought I'd ever develop a patent. We built our technology from the ground up. There was no off-the-shelf solution. We have 220 custom-built handwriting robots. We're in a 10,000 square foot space. We have 11 full-time employees, plus a whole stable of contractors. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, to say the
Wow.
least.
Wow, it sounds like it. So many questions that I have with that. Number one, before the
Sure.
show, we did talk about the fact that you spent some time in Cleveland here with the Browns. So, you
Yeah.
know, good for you. That'll be fun when I tell my husband later on today. And when I think about things like I started using send out cards like back in 2009, and I had my personal font, which you are so
Mhm.
right when it comes to handwritten notes. And I know a lot in my programs, I tell people that the value of handwritten notes, and a lot of them are like, oh, my handwriting's terrible. I just say, suck it up and print. You're making it
Yeah.
even better. But the other thing that comes to me now is we have this whole generation now that nobody reads cursive. So
Mhm.
is it print and cursive, or like what?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we don't use fonts. We actually use handwriting styles. So
Okay.
what goes into a handwriting style is you got to break down what a handwriting style is. There's kerning, there's ligatures, there's offsets, there's beginnings of how words start. An E in the middle of a word is different than an E at the beginning of the word, an E and an
Right.
E at the end of the word. We don't, again, use fonts. We have intelligent algorithms that create handwriting styles. So we actually
Wow.
program your handwriting and then it knows what it's actually writing. So it knows, hey, if you're writing THE, it knows to draw that E like tail a little bit longer versus putting
Yeah.
the E in the middle of a word, you wouldn't draw that tail a lot longer. So there's a lot of technology that goes into it.
Wow.
We've had to over engineer everything about this business from how orders get in to how they get produced to the technology that produces it, just to send a simple handwritten note. I never knew. I bit off way more than I can chew, but I'm so thankful that I did. And because you grow through what you go through. And over the last 8 years, I feel like I've gotten 3 or 4 40-year corporate careers of knowledge and experience through building this business.
Wow. So you built a robotics company with no engineering background.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what were the operational steps that you really had to go through to go from idea to basically functioning on the production floor?
Yep, that's a great question. So we started with a pen plotter. That was a very painful product to use. And then we went to an auto pen. An auto pen is what the president uses just to sign documents. It's not meant to do what we did, but it was like a bridge to get to where we needed to go. But about 2 years in, I got tired of hearing people saying, oh, the writing doesn't look good, or working with that company because they wouldn't sell you a certain amount of machines. They have like licenses on them where like people can't own a certain amount, or it's a small family business and they're about to go, like they're going to retire. So I was like, if they retire and they close their company, my business is done. And then there were some technology problems, like we couldn't integrate and send like orders to the machines. They used fonts. They didn't have the technology to actually create handwriting styles. But yeah, I got tired of hearing like people complain about it and working with that business. So I was like, in order for us to scale, we're going to have to control our technology, build it, design it, maintain it. So what I did was I took all the technologies that we already bought and I went to a engineering company and said, hey, like these are the current technologies. This is the product we sell. I need to build something that can improve on that. And I went through 14 phase zeros. Phase zeros are basically discovery phases. And what I would do is I'd go to the first one, and about a week, they would send me like a proposal and they would say, hey, this is how we would build it. This is what we think it would look like. This is what technologies would be involved. They'd give me a quote and like they'd have their logo on it. So what I would do is I would take that logo off, I would take the price off, and I would take it to the next engineering firm and saying, hey, like I worked with this other engineering firm. I'm not really like impressed with their proposal. Can you do better? And I did that 14 times
Wow.
because as a self-funded entrepreneur, you have to measure 10 times and cut once. And I didn't have a lot of money. So I knew if I was going to make a massive investment and take that kind of risk, I had to know if we were going to take that step, it was going to work. Yeah, it was over a year. It took over a year to go through that process, but we finally found somebody that we were comfortable with. And then it took 3 years to actually build it because we're self-funded, we're customer-funded revenue. So we had to do it in chunks. And every Thursday from 2 until 10 p.m., we were at this engineering company just working on our product. And we got through it. And now we have 220 of them custom built, fully automating a product that was never automated before.
And I think about the discipline that went into what you just said. And manufacturers always understand the process discipline. So, how do you think that your NFL training translated that into you being able to build that system and generate that pipeline that you have?
That's a great question. That's what I was going back to what I was saying. I took all my transferable skills of what made me a good athlete into business. It took 15 years to get to the NFL.
Yeah.
That didn't happen overnight. It was a process. You had to earn it. You had to go through all the different stages and different levels to get there. And I look at entrepreneurship the same way. Most entrepreneurs, all of us struggle. It's hard. Building a business is hard. Building a product is hard. And what's been really hard in our generation is social media. All these personalities and gurus that say, oh, look what I did in 12 months. Most of them are lying.
Make
Most
$1
of them
million
are.
next week. Yeah, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah.
Most of them are lying, or what they're not sharing is the 10 or 15 or 20 years prior to that of gaining all that domain expertise, all that experience to actually execute and have that type of success. All I did, again, was just took everything and that I learned as an athlete. And it's really fundamental stuff. If you apply that to anything, doesn't matter if it's relationships, your business, a hobby, like you're going to become great at it. It's just compounding success over time.
So you hold 9 patents. So for manufacturers who are listening who may be sitting on the process innovation fence, what were some of the things that you decided as far as what was worth protecting versus just trying to execute faster than any competitors?
That was more for like marketing. When we were going through that, it was more just, hey, look, we're making the effort to invest and improve our platform. We actually have like patented type of technology. I fully believe patents don't mean anything. I think they're lawsuit coupons. They're just saying, hey, like now you're most likely going to enter a lawsuit because someone's going to rip you off. Most businesses are copying each other. They're taking flavors from other competitors and like just improving on it. Look at Samsung and Apple. They've been doing it forever. Ford and Chevy,
Right.
that's what they do. They sell similar products just with different flavors. But my thought process early on, I was like, oh yeah, it's going to change us and it's going to help us close bigger contracts and it's going to show them our commitment. But honestly, it was more just to show people like, hey, we're actually trying to make things better. But I don't know, fast forward 5-6 years, I don't think it was worth it. The amount of effort and time and documentation investment and I don't know. But maybe if it was a different product that was like a cure to cancer or something, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't want to patent that, but something that was going to go into hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, sure, I don't know. But for us, it was more just, hey, we want to show our customers or our partners that we actually have something that's different and it's actually being accepted as something that is patentable, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's so funny because I think patents, and of course I'm a big Shark Tank girl. So anytime somebody comes on Shark Tank with a patent, it's woohoo! But it shows that you've done your work and you've done all of that goes into it. You sound a little bit like me, that people are going to steal your stuff no matter what you do. And if your stuff isn't good, they're not going to steal it. So if they're stealing it, you must be onto something.
Yeah. And I always welcome any competitors. Good luck. Come figure this out. You're going to get exhausted. From print automation to the very beginning, engineer your own robot that can work with printers, cameras, scanners, mailing equipment, post office. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
It may be better for you just to come buy your business versus trying to figure it out for yourself.
Exactly. So when you're talking about this is basically a new kind of technology out there because it is unique in what it can do and making it look like handwriting. So when you're going out and getting customers, basically introducing a whole new way of doing things, how are you approaching customer acquisition?
So I would say that's like my strong point. I feel like I have a PhD in problem solving. So if there's a problem in business, I feel like I've just had to solve so many problems I can figure it out. But what I'm really interested in is like sales and marketing automation, AI agents and automation. And that's something, at least for I feel like the last 5 years, we haven't had a problem with is lead generation. We get tons of leads. Like I know how to do lead generation through ads, through outbound, through cold calling, through social. That's just something I feel like I've mastered and something really good at. But what's really hard is this is such a new product. It's a new product, new service, new technology, new pricing platform, like new idea. So how we've fixed that, and we can probably do it a different way, but how I've fixed that is just, hey, we'll just increase the top of funnel. We'll get a lot more people in. And then by just the law of numbers, more people in, the more number of people you're going to close. But this is a product that's far from perfect. Most products are far from perfect. But yeah, it's been really hard to like, hey, we sell handwritten mail for client retention, like relationship building, and then like client acquisition. People are like, oh, that's cool. But then you start talking to them, like, how does it work? And then like they get like brain fog, decision fatigue, analysis paralysis. It's too technical. And so I can make it really simple, or I can really explain to you the real power of it and getting really technical because we've made handwritten mail as automatable and as trackable as email. And to some people, that makes sense. To other people are like, okay, like how does it work? It's been an interesting business to build because it's something that's really just a handwritten note, but it can be as complicated as you want it to be, down to API integrations, webhooks, tracking, workflows, getting really technical, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The thing I love about it, of course, my company is Grategy, which is gratitude and strategy mushed together. So, of course, the handwritten note giving somebody tangible evidence of a job well done is something that I talk about all the time. And that personalization, I know that I use a lot of AI. It's funny how you use the robots to personalize things, but when you can really focus in on what is meaningful to that customer. It sounds like there's thinking about how often we get a handwritten note. We just don't. So
Yeah.
when you're with what you're doing with personalization at scale, what does that look like?
Sure, that's a great question. That's actually something we tell our clients, like we personalize at scale. How do we? It can be as simple as just giving us a spreadsheet of all your clients, first name, last name, and address. And then just like mail merge, you'd be like, hi, first name, right? And then every letter will be completely personalized. That's the most basic, vanilla way of using Simply Noted. Or you can actually deeply integrate it into your CRM, your software, your payment platform, your ticketing system. And then as things are happening, you can pull data from those systems and actually plug it in to a handwritten note and make it hyper personalized. So say somebody has a complaint in your ticketing system. You can actually take the data from that ticketing system, use an LLM, plug in the variable data, and then send a personalized pen written note to that person talking about that problem and apologizing. So it's great for keeping bad reviews offline. Or after someone pays an invoice, we can integrate into your invoicing system. Hey, John, thanks for paying your invoice. Looking forward to working with you. Anniversary of a sale, birthday, but a lot of people will use this for automating relationship building. So you can build that workflow that makes sense for you, or just like client acquisition. You can just take a big list, from a spreadsheet and create a simple campaign, just like you would do in like Constant Contact or your CRM. You would just create an email, put in your list, type in your message, and hit send. It's the same thing, but the difference is that we're using handwritten mail. And we can track it to the mailbox so you can actually get delivery notifications, just like email. And then we track the QR codes too. So say you sent out 10,000 pieces, the QR codes on those notes, if they get scanned, we actually show you who scanned it. So it's just like tracking a link click in an email. We can actually track who scans the QR code. And then when they scan the QR code, that's a triggerable event. So I know I'm getting really technical, but if someone scans that
Oh, it's
QR code,
fascinating.
yeah, you can actually automate a text message to that person from a sales rep. Hey, John, saw you scan the QR code. Would love to book a meeting with you from sales rep. Or you can update that in their CRM. Or you can enroll them in a sequence. You can get as complicated as you want or as easy as you want, but we've built a platform that's infinitely flexible to integrating a handwritten note into your like client retention and like client acquisition process.
And so it's physically going out in the mail. So then you also have to work with the USPS.
Oh, Yeah.
Which, number one, so there's the cost of stamps, which continue to go on, plus just you're working with the USPS. So what are some tips, or how have you managed so many different, I guess, parts of the system and different vendors basically to get that done?
So we just did informed deliverability. So a lot of the times people want to just make sure that what they're sending is actually getting delivered. Since we build our own robots, we're the only handwritten mail company that can actually track a genuine pen written envelope and a pen written card to the mailbox. So people have been doing this in the print space, but not a genuine pen written envelope and a pen written card. So since we built our technology, we made updates to those robots that allow us to actually like track individual mail to the mailbox. So that was something that we implemented last year. With postage, that's a really important topic you brought up, is these companies who send larger volumes of mail, first class stamp costs 78 cents. So just to send it is 78 cents. But if you're doing bulk mail, so you're doing it for marketing, you can actually qualify for standard postage, which is usually around 25 to 30, sometimes 35, 40 cents cheaper. So you can get a stamp for 35, 40, 45 cents. So for marketing, client like retention, like reaching out to us, we actually help you do that to save money on your campaigns. Tracking the QR codes, that's really important too. But there's like a lot of ways that you can either save money or track it with our company that's not normal in this space. But yeah, we're constantly trying to improve. The post office they have a hard job. They got to process billions and billions of pieces of mail every year. And that infrastructure has been around for a long time. It probably needs a complete rehaul. But yeah, we know what we've done here. It's infinitely upgradable because of the technology that we've manufactured. Other technologies are not like that because they haven't manufactured their own technology. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mentioned earlier, I've been using a company called Send Out Cards forever and a day, and it is my handwriting font, but it's also obviously printed. My mother-in-law used to think that I actually hand wrote the notes. I didn't. So what you're saying is that yours are actually a pen? The robot's holding a pen.
Yeah, 100%.
That's fascinating.
There you
So
have 220 custom-built handwriting robots that hold pens that write in your handwriting. Yeah, that's what we do here. Yep.
And so from the technology standpoint, then, is there like a little tube that just continuously puts ink into those pens?
No, we replace the pens twice a day. So we have like humans that have to attend to the robots.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
what are some of the success stories that you've heard? And I know we're spending a lot of time on the company. Usually I do things that on this podcast that are a little bit more applicable, but I think that your end product is so important to get out because it stands out from all of the noise that's out there of just something that looks different. We don't get handwritten mail in the mail anymore. We get junk mail and we get bills.
I know, it's rare. Yeah, but
Give
use
us some
cases.
examples of what you've heard from your customers once they started using that kind of system and developing that personal connection through the handwritten note.
Sure. The businesses that can benefit from a service like this the most are the service-based businesses that are highly competitive. So you think of real estate, home service, nonprofit, political, small practice, where there's just so many opportunities and so many competitors, and people have to do financial services where there's just a dime a dozen of them, right? And at the end of the day, a business has to have good service, good product just to get somebody interested. But then there's a whole different layer to it now. Now people are going into reviews. Now people are researching you more online. Now there's more information available than ever. If someone's going to compare you apples to apples and you guys are pretty similar, oftentimes what's going to get you to lean one way or the other is the relationship. So the clients who've been using us like consistently day after day, month, year after year are the ones who use us for relationship building, because relationship building is something that works constantly over time. It's just not a one-time thing. I'm thinking of e-commerce platforms who will send a new client a handwritten note and an anniversary card of their first purchase. That's really like a normal use case for us. Or like a real estate agent after every transaction and the anniversary of them like working together, anniversary of the home closing. It's completely automatable, completely great use case. But also, like you said earlier, that mailbox is empty. You open it, some postcards, maybe a few bills, maybe, like a newspaper or something. But it's very rare that you get something that looks like this. I don't know if this is a video podcast, but
Yeah,
it's very
it's
rare.
audio, but you're showing me a handwritten envelope with a
Yeah,
stamp on it.
a real stamp, right? A physical stamp. For marketing, again, if you're trying to stand out and grab someone's attention, how are you going to do it? With ads, with an email, bothering them during the day with a cold call? I'm not saying like our tool is the only tool you need to use, but
Sure.
every business needs to have different tools in their tool belt. And this is one tool that is great at both client retention and also acquiring new clients, because how it competes is in a medium that's really easy to stand out in versus the mailbox or the inbox where it's completely cluttered. Their
Okay,
timelines on social, Google, where it's just an ad and it's sponsored. When you send something like this, it gets their attention. It gets them to think about it. It buys mental space nothing else can buy, and they're going to remember it. Yeah, I think it's an interesting product. Most businesses can use it because at the end of the day, every business has clients who pay invoices, and those invoices pay their paychecks. And if they didn't have those clients, you wouldn't have a job. Yeah, if that makes sense.
And it's funny because I remember, and this was, 2007 when we got new windows put in. And it was the first time that I had ever gotten a handwritten note from a contractor. We was doing lots of business with different things. And it was so impressive that with the referrals that I gave him over time, it was more than $100,000 in business that he got. And it really came down to that handwritten note. It's just something, like you said, with service businesses that set you apart. And the fact that you're doing it, that you're taking the time, that you care enough to just acknowledge that person for supporting you.
I think what you just said is perfectly explaining what I'm trying to explain, is that in 2007, 20 years ago, you remember somebody that, you did business with sent you a handwritten note. Like those things just don't get forgot. And especially if it's something, that you have an emotional connection to. It's, hey, like I worked with this business that had a very important part of my life, whatever that is, right? People remember that. And people, like you just said, will refer their friends and their family to people who do stuff like that. So yeah, it's just a great point you just made.
And how are you personally? So I'm assuming you're the one doing the sending. So the client gives you their Excel spreadsheet formatted with all of that. Do they have notes in there, or are you taking it from their CRM, or how are you knowing exactly what to say?
Yeah, so it can be as templated as you want. So if you just have first name, last name, and address, you can just put like hi first name and type like a very similar sentence. Or you can use these like large language models to build really custom personalized messages to each person, but it's going to require more data. So if it's like a ticketing system and you want to send handwritten mail for resolving complaints, it's going to need to know what the complaint was so it can draft a message. If it's sending them a handwritten note about a job that was completed, it's going to need all the invoices details so it can draft a message about the invoice and saying, hey, thanks for letting us do your windows. It was great stopping by last spring, whatever you want. So it can be as easy as you want, simple spreadsheet with a templated message, or you can run it through a large language model, but it needs more data so the input can create an output that makes sense to that person.
Okay. And last question as we start to wrap it up, but does the system talk to things like a Salesforce or another type of CRM? Okay.
Yep.
So then they
that's how
can
we integrate.
basically read it and
Yep, that's how we integrate. So if you're going to integrate to like a HubSpot, a Salesforce, or a CRM, it's going to be like trigger based. So think lead goes to close. That's a triggerable event, right? And then it would then send a handwritten note to that person with that person's details. You can easily export your data from like a Salesforce or a HubSpot if you just want to do a quick send. I think anybody like thinking about playing with this technology and integrating it, like we try to do the crawl, walk, run approach. Let's just crawl with a test order. And then let's walk with a simple integration if you really want to integrate it. And then let's run after a few months, making sure we've worked through some kinks and we've improved the system enough to now like fully integrate it and launch it.
All right, awesome. If somebody did want to continue the conversation, learn more about you and what you do, what is the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, so Rick Elmore, I'm on LinkedIn. So that's like my main socials. I really don't spend any time on other platforms. So just go to LinkedIn, look me up. I try to respond to my messages. There's a lot of spam in there, but if it seems personal enough, I'll respond. Or just go to simplynoted.com if you guys are interested in learning about this product. And like one of the buttons right there on the hero section is request a sample. Just fill out that form and we'll send you like a big sample kit. I mean, we spend $30 putting together this really nice kit to send to you so you can see like the quality and learn more about this product and business.
All right, Rick, I want to let you know this was just fascinating. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me and allowing me to share my story. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm Lisa Ryan, and this is the Manufacturers Network podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Manufacturers Network podcast. If this conversation gave you something to think about, share it with someone else who will get it. And hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next.